Radio Network, and proud to bring our show to you again today. And I thank you from the bottom of my heart. I seriously do. I do. I do. I do. I appreciate that you listen, and hopefully we deliver because we like to bring it, and we like to get down, and we like to get dirty. So roll up your sleeves and join me in the funness that is sports. And let's do it. Let's get down and dirty. Okay. Of course, we start the show off most days with headlines that are hot. So here are your hot headlines for the day. All righty, let's do this. Of course, last night the college football playoff rankings came out. Oh boy! And was there surprises? Was there not surprises? What does it mean? Well, I'm going to talk a little bit about it, but I first want to talk about this. Isn't this fun? Like, isn't it fun that we get to have this conversation? Think about Utah fans the last couple of years where, oh man, what could have been if we just had someone playing quarterback that was halfway decent? What could have been? What could have been? Don't know. We do know that the defense played pretty good the last couple of years, and had we had a little bit of offense, who knows? Because here's the crazy part, and so yes, it's fun, right? This is fun. It's fun that every day you wake up, if you go to any national outlet, any national news, sports program, anywhere, podcasts, all of it, you are going to have a discussion about the college football playoffs. And when you're in the discussion, when you're 13, when you're 12, when you're talked about, it doesn't matter what they're saying. Like maybe this is the ceiling for Utah. Oh, it's going to be a tough road. How do they, squeak into this? It's hard to overcome two losses to the teams that are ahead of you in the standings. And so, um, regardless of that, you're in the conversation, and it's not a conversation for locally, like who's the Mountain West champion, who's that going to be, kind of thing. And that's fun, and it was fun, and it had its moment in time. But this is for all of them. This is to go to the dance. This is to go to the playoffs. Like, and there's a real possibility. One of the things that really jumped out at me when Utah joined, it was the first thing. It's not one of it was the first thing. It was so forefront in my thought process when Utah joined the Pac-12. We now can go to the Rose Bowl. Who, what, whenever a Utah fan could say that? Never. They never could say that. But now they could. Now they could. And what a statement to be able to say. And at the beginning, it was like, yeah, we're there, but we're really not. Like, yeah, maybe someday if we really work hard and things work, And at that time, it was like, man, we're just happy to be in the Pac-12. Colorado was happy to be in the Pac-12, and they just said, yeah, we're just happy to be here and suck. And Utah was like, no, 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 no. We're gonna go for it. And lo and behold, two Rose Bowls. And I would venture to say, for any Utah fan, regardless of the outcome, man, those Rose Bowls were something special. Like it is the granddaddy of them all. The granddaddy of them all, the Rose Bowl from Pasadena, California. And now the conversation is, hey, guys, we can go to the college football playoffs. And that's been the last couple of years. It was really hard. It was really hard to do that in the Pac 12 because you got to go undefeated. And the way the Pac 12 was balanced, you're going to lose. You're going to lose a game. It's going to be really hard. And it's because they only let 4 teams in. And they're just like, no, this is a very, very exclusive club. You're not welcome. Thank you, but no thank you. Now they're like, hey, you know what? We like this idea. I like this kind of party. And everyone is happy about that, right? And so it's just fun right now. It's just fun to be in the conversation. It's fun to sit here and speculate and pontificate and go through all the different simulations and all the possibilities of, can we get in? Who's going to get in? And to me, that is just a really really cool, just first blush, regardless of what happens with all of this. It's just it's awesome. And it's, in my mind, what I envisioned and what I've preached and said all along. Sports in Utah has grown up, and it's continuing to grow up before our eyes. And I think it's really important that we all embrace it, and we all put it as the standard. And we all, like, when you score a touchdown, act like you've been there. Like, this is just what we do. We score touchdowns, we win, we go to the playoffs, we talk about going to the playoffs. And it's across the board. And quite frankly, I think the one thing with Ryan Smith, the owner of the Mammoth and the Utah Jazz, the one thing that I appreciate about what he's doing above anything else is he's seeing this on the big stage perspective. He's seeing it on a national perspective. He's seeing it on as, well, we're this little small market team, and we're just, no one really wants to come here. And we apologize for who the freak we are. We don't have to apologize. Like, let me tell you, I've lived in some of these other parts of the country, and they ain't better than here. Not even close. Actually, if more people knew about Utah and what a wonderful place it is, they would actually be flocking here. They would come in droves, and they are. And there are so many amazing things. You want to talk economic, education, quality of life, you name it. You go across the board. The beauty. You got the uh, choir at Tabernacles Temple Square. That right there should bring folks in. By the way, and they've never apologized. The choir, and people are like, what the heck are you talking about? The choir. Yeah, they've been doing this longer than anybody. And they said, we are singing our praises from the mountaintops, from the rooftops, and we are broadcasting it out to the entire world. We are not ashamed. We are not embarrassed. We embrace who we are. And I think, and I encourage you as sports fans in Utah, make no apologies for who we are. None of us. We belong. We are there. We are those people. And we deserve to be there. So don't apologize for the Big 12. Don't apologize for it. No. Man, I watch freaking a lot of the Big 12. I'm right. My nose is in it. And this is a really, really good conference. It's better than when Utah was in the Pac-12. There are more teams that care. There are more teams that put forth an effort. And they show up. They show up. And they got their fan bases, and they are excited. They are excited. And so we need to just make no apologies, and not in any regard feel embarrassed or ashamed, or that we deserve less. And I think along with that, Ohio State, when they played Utah in the Rose Bowl, they didn't want to be there. They didn't want to be there. And they didn't want to be there because for them, it was like, we lost out on the national championship. And that's where we need to be. We need to be disappointed with what's going on. Now, what is going on? Well, Utah's at 12, BYU's at 11. Two bitter rivals right there with each other. And that was my second reaction was, man, we can't seem to get past BYU. And that does not sit well, hopefully, with the Utah faithful. And it's got to just eat at your craw. And the reality is, the easiest scenario for Utah to have a chance to get into the college football playoffs is for BYU to lose this week. Like the most probable, the easiest scenario for Utah to get in is to go to the conference championship and to beat Texas Tech. That is just, that's the most, and it makes me nervous because you got to play that extra game. But look, Utah, you lost 2 games this year. You did. And maybe you've got things, squared away and you've got the ship righted at this point. So take your medicine, go to that extra game, really show and say, let's put our money where our mouth is. Fine, we'll go to the game. Absolutely, we'll go to the game. And we want Texas Tech because they're the best team in the conference. They're going to make the college football playoffs. Texas Tech is. They're going to make the playoffs no matter what. And so Utah, show them that you belong there. But so much of the season for Utah and its chances of the college football playoff hinge on this weekend, and it's not the game against Kansas State. BYU plays Cincinnati, right? The easiest road, because it gets really complicated once BYU loses, and now there's a bunch of teams with 2 losses. But Utah gets in with all the tiebreakers, even over BYU, if other teams, Houston, Arizona State, and Utah, all win out the rest of the season. And I believe even BYU, where because if BYU gets to 3 losses, it might change the other tiebreakers with the other teams. So it's everyone wins out who has 2 losses except for BYU, and that's assuming BYU loses Cincinnati. And quite frankly, it's the only plausible option for Utah to go to the conference championship. There really isn't any other way. BYU has to lose, which we know. That's why the game at Iowa State was such a big game. It's why the game against Utah and BYU was such a big game. So that's probably the path that at least you have the most control over, but still you don't have control because you got to hope that BYU loses. So think about this. You have your nemesis, your conference, right? This one team that stands in front of you. The one team that has, your rival that you've been in Power 5 football now for all these years, and BYU shows up, and within 3 years of being in the conference, they're on the verge of going to the conference championship. And you are right behind them, barely. By a field goal, you're behind them. And that's just a tough pill to swallow. But like I said before, rivalries have to be a little bit painful in order for them to be really, really big rivalries. And this is one of those moments. And it could swing either way. Because BYU could go, we beat Utah, and they're going to the conference championship, and now they're going to the playoffs. And you want this, just so you know, you want this back and forth. I don't see a path from the other option. And the other option is an at-large bid. Oklahoma, those Sooners, they kind of screwed the pooch and really made it difficult. And now everyone's in love with Oklahoma. There's still a chance that they could possibly lose. Possibly. They still play LSU, who, could be whatever, and Missouri. Alabama still plays Auburn, and it's at Auburn, And anything can happen in those crazy games. I remember a scenario um, where Oregon State was not very good. They were playing Oregon the last game of the season, and Utah's playing at Colorado. And if Utah wins and Oregon loses, Utah goes to the Pac-12 championship game. Well, Oregon lost, and Oregon was really good, and they lost to Oregon State, who was not really good. So we know crazy things are going to happen, and they could happen because Alabama, that might have been the I'm going to say the best or brightest or most hopeful thing that happened with, in my opinion, of this college football playoff predictor or picks. Alabama is at 10, so they're that last team in now. Now, if Alabama moves, if whatever, because it's Notre Dame, it's Oregon, Notre Dame, BYU, and Alabama that all stand in Utah's way. And Utah's at 12. Three of those teams are ahead of you. And in all reality, all three or two of the three have to lose again. That's kind of where it is. So, BYU loses this week, then that changes everything. Utah and Oregon plays USC. Oregon hasn't played anyone this year. They lost to a good team, but their schedule's been very, very soft. They do play USC. They're at home. They lose to USC at home. Just not a good look. Notre Dame's not going to lose. They don't play anyone. I mean, they play Stanford and Syracuse. They're not going to lose. Alabama potentially could lose. BYU could lose. I don't know what BYU losing in the conference championship game does. It might slide someone in, but those two bottom tier teams, or the 11 and 12 spots, are going to go to the next highest conference champion winner. So you're going to have, and it just so people know, it's not Power 4 plus 1. It's just the top 5 conference champions who are ranked. So the highest ranked conference champion team gets in automatically. So it could be the SEC and a bunch of other conferences, including the Pac-12. I mean, it's just it could be a lot. It just doesn't matter. It's not power conferences. It's conferences. So it's going to be ACC and I believe the American. But on a side note, okay, Tulane is now in the top 25. If they were to go win their conference, they would get in. And guess who their quarterback is? Jake Retzlaff. And Jake Retzlaff's had a pretty freaking good year. He leads the team in passing and rushing, and he's amassed about 3,000 yards of offense, or about 2,700 yards of offense, with a couple of games to go. He's had a pretty good freaking year, and he was at BYU. That's the irony of all ironies. Now, here's the last thing that's just really irritated me about, or at least my thought, and that is, man, it's just going to be really hard to get into playoffs, and it's really sad because you're so close. And think to the BYU game, okay? Texas Tech, whatever, coulda, woulda, shoulda. Your quarterback's not healthy, which is what I talked about yesterday. It's like, oh man, really? Of all the times you need your quarterback to be healthy, of all the games you're going to play all year, you have them at home. Come on. But the other one's the BYU game. You outrush them, you outgain them. You're doing everything but scoring. And the analytics say, go for it. Now, to me, I think it's It's kind of a complete contradiction of who Kyle Whittingham is. He's the most um, structured, disciplined, by the book kind of guy, and going for it on fourth down does not seem like that kind of guy. It seems like a riverboat gambler kind of move. Oh man, we're going for it. Yeah, let's go for it. It's 4th and 9. Go for it. Like that's just to me is not the nature of Kyle Whittingham. But he will swear on a Bible that you don't go against the analytics. And if he'd have gone against the analytics, Utah would be sitting in prime position for the college football playoffs. They would be right there. I'll bet they'd be ahead of Notre Dame, who's has 2 losses. I'll bet they'd be right because people like Utah. All right, so Bruce Arians, thank goodness someone has said this other than me. And I was so glad to hear this. And I heard this on the Pat McAfee show yesterday. Bruce Arians is talking about analytics and what he thinks about analytics. Listen to what he had to say. So he had a very long discussion about these analytics. And part of the discussion, which is what I've contended, is, they talk about a big game. BYU Utah is as big as it gets. And that momentum, that whole kind of look, BYU, they're not the best talented team in the country or the conference, but they play their butts off. They play so hard, and the crowd in Provo really juices them up, and they get fired up in that crowd. And getting that crowd out of the game is a huge bonus. It's like basically eliminating their booster shot of adrenaline, and it matters. It matters because the guy running across the formation who tackles Daniel Bray on 3rd down, that dude is flying. And part of it is because he's just hustling. So, that you can't predict. The analytics can't say, hey, our guy's going to try harder than your guy. The analytics can't say, hey, you're in a hostile environment, and if you miss on this, it's juicing up the crowd times 10. It's an opportunity totally missed. And historically, these games have always been crazily close. Very few blowouts. And for that reason, points are a premium. And analytics maybe need to be analyzed and shelved because, man, think of where, and that's the thing I thought about. And I know that they have these numbers and they do all this stuff, but I just know that football sometimes comes down to just what your gut instinct tells you and reading the room that sometimes analytics can't tell you, like the crowd and getting the crowd out of the game, or you know what, their guy is better in this situation than our guy. And when it push comes to shove, I don't think we have the horses, or I don't think we have the right scenario here to, get it done. And analytics doesn't tell you that. It just says, here's what you should do. Now, maybe you make the right call in that situation. I don't know, but and maybe the right call in one game isn't the same as another, and you still have to make the right call in that situation. So analytics and another thing he said, you know, using analytics as um, your reason, hey, we just did it because that's what the analytics tells you. That might be a bit of a cop out because you got to go with your gut sometimes. Sometimes I remember having a conversation with Doug Peterson, and of course, Doug won the Super Bowl. Doug was a former teammate of mine with the Miami Dolphins, and he said, we had practiced a Philly special, and that wasn't even his name. We had practiced that play all week long. I had a coach that I said, go look at every single trick play, gadget play ever invented. And so the guy went and studied all this, and he found this play. We really liked it. We practiced it over and over and over and over again, and it never worked. It never worked in practice. So when I got the suggestion to run it, he said, I just felt in my gut, yes. Now, everything, it went against everything that he thought or had explained. But when he felt, he just says yes. And he goes, and he ran it. And I was over there and all the other coaches are like, what play are you calling? Right? What? And then all of a sudden it's a touchdown. And everyone goes, freaking genius right there. But it's that willingness to just, grow a set in those tough situations and not overthink it, not overanalyze it. And those are the times when it gets you to a conference championship and gets you places you've never been before. Cam Rising did the same thing. They called a play, they called it wrong, and he ran it anyways. And it was like a double move, pump fake, and I think it was on third or something. And he throws a touchdown pass at USC that changed the whole game. And hearing his description of it afterwards, it was a cluster, but he just went with it. And that's what you got to do because football is played on emotion a lot of times. And there's just times when maybe not going for it is the gut thing to do. And sometimes maybe it is. Well, we're going to take a break. We come back. Oh, we got so much fun stuff to talk about in the NFL. That is, yeah. So you want to hear it. All right. This is the Down and Dirty. Scott Mitchell here on ESPN 792.1 FM.
Gotta come back with advanced windows when you come back. It's okay. It's okay. It's all right. It's all right. You got me. You got me there. You got me there. Yes, I have. Yes, I am. Yeah. Yes. Don't worry. Third segment. We're gonna play some Kansas music. I got you. Don't worry about it. I can play some now too. Yeah. Okay. 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 I got you. I got you, boss.
Oh yeah, baby. There is nothing better than Kansas. And we're playing Kansas State this week, but guess what? You know what? If you like it once, you might as well do it twice. We're gonna play Kansas next week, day after Thanksgiving, Black Friday. Can't wait. Be exciting. Gotta take care of business, Utah. Take care of business. All right, speaking of business, have you ever heard of my, Ute brother, Nate Orchard? He was recently selected to join the Utah Athletic Hall of Fame, which is pretty cool. Of course, the old mayor of Salt Lake City, an NFL superstar, you know who he is. And you've heard of Advanced Window Products. They're Utah's #1 window replacement company, and they now have their fall special for you. You get $2,500 off when you buy 10 windows or more. Oh boy, that's a lot. Great deal. And they are, of course, a local company. They're operated by Nate Orchard, the mayor of Salt Lake City. Sac Lake City. He's the sack master. Yep, that's him. And he's using his skills to help Utah homeowners save on energy bills with the most energy efficient windows around. And I'm sold on them, and I am because they're in my house. Just call Advanced Window Products at 801-850-9100 or visit advancedwindows.com. Don't miss out on $2,500 when you buy 10 windows or more. Give the mayor a call today, 801-850-9100. You won't regret it. Advanced Window Products, building, installing, and guaranteeing the best windows in Utah. Shedeur Sanders is getting his first career NFL start this Sunday. Now he's playing at the Raiders. Of course, he came into the game against Baltimore last week, and he was not very good. He was pretty bad. He threw an interception, fumbled, and they lost. And they were winning, by the way, at that time. Shedeur, it kind of brought back to my memory the first game I ever started in the NFL. And I've talked about this on the show, and you know, you're going to get your opportunity, and you just somehow have to find a way to be ready for it. And it's not fair when you're the backup, and it's not intended to be fair because the NFL is like, man, we got to win right now. So now he's getting all the reps, drinking, with a fire hose, and I'm sure they'll do limited things, to give him confidence and make him win, make him do well. There's a lot of speculation out there that there's kind of a mixed bag about coach didn't want him, the owners did, and blah blah blah. And that is a real thing, by the way. It is. And it's a real thing that the coach will also put you in a bad spot. And that's a real thing. Some people are contending that it's racist. It's racially motivated, that they have something against Shedeur because he's black or he's Dion's son or whatever. And that's never the case. Just so you know, never the case. The NFL is predominantly black. Most of the players, about 75%. So that just doesn't hold water. At any rate, it'll be fascinating to see if this is actually really the case. So now he's getting all the reps. No one can complain about it. He's finally getting his opportunity to play. What does he do? It's not going to be on anyone at this point because really everything has been is speculation, right? Oh, he was a first round draft choice. There was this conspiracy against him. It's Colin Kaepernick all over again. And I just don't think people liked it. And I don't think people wanted the show, the entourage, everything that came along with it. Now they would absolutely 100% go, we'll do this. We'll take this if he's really an uber talent. I don't know if Shedeur Sanders can play in the NFL or not. I know a lot of guys can. I know a lot of guys that get drafted late, especially at the quarterback position, do well. It's not uncommon. The qualities and traits of a really good quarterback are not you're uber athletic or have a brutally strong arm. It's that can you throw the ball at the right time in the right place? That's all it is. And it's being able to consistently do that and understand that and execute on that. And that's not easy. It's not easy. But it just brought me back to the time when I started, and I kind of chuckle at this a little bit because I was so ready to play by the time I got to play. I had been so well trained and coached and prepped, and a lot of it was my own doing. Sat behind a legend, and I never got practice reps. I never got anything. The preseason back then was a real thing. And the preseason for me was the Super Bowl because it's when I got reps. It's when I got to start games. It's when I got to play significant time in games. I begged the Miami Dolphins to say, "Could I please go play in the World League?" They're like, "You're an NFL player. That's for guys that you belong here. You don't need to go there." And I swallowed my pride and I got super humble and I went there. And I not only went, I got to play here. Like, I got to play well. And I did. And it changed everything for me. It was such a great experience. It was the absolute right and perfect thing to do. I came back to the Dolphins a much better player. So I was prepared when I played. And it was funny because, so I'm going to start my first game in the NFL. And I played very similar to Shador. I came in and played a little bit over a half of a game. And in that first half, I was the AFC Offensive Player of the Week in the first half of a game I played of any significance in the NFL. And it was simply because I was prepared and I could do it. I mean, it was both, but I was prepared to do it. And I was prepared without excuse. I didn't sleep the night before the game I played. I was in the hospital. I didn't even warm up before the game I played in. Not one throw. And I made it happen. And so no excuses, no anything, no nothing. Now the first game I played in or started, it was really funny because Dan Marino was really good to me. And he's trying to give me confidence and just so I don't get worried and nervous and not, or anything. And he says, "Look," he says, "just so you know, my first game I started, I threw 3 interceptions and we actually lost." And I'm sitting here going, "Why are you telling me this? Like, I know you mean it with the best of intentions, but that's about the most negative last thing I want to put into my brain right now is it's okay that you suck your first day out. So don't make too much of it." Now, had he told me that after the game, if that would have happened, that would have been nice. But I didn't really need that or want that. And it didn't happen, by the way. In fact, we played the Indianapolis Colts and smoked them. And I went on and played really well that season, and I became a free agent. So it was a really good experience. But it's really now is the time because I'm personally tired of all this. I'm tired of all these people hearing and giving all these excuses for Shador, and I'm tired of well, he's got his opportunity. A lot of guys don't get their opportunity in the first year if they're a 5th-round draft choice. So he's in a and so I don't want to hear anything. I don't want to hear that he didn't get the. I don't want to hear that he's on a bad team and if he had better players, he'd be a better. I don't want to hear any of it. This is a league of put up or shut up. So shut up or put up. But you make the choice. All right, moving on. More NFL news of notes here. This one kind of excited me. And it excited me simply because one of these players, and I firmly believe he belongs in the Hall of Fame. And his numbers, his career, who he played against that era, and the production he had and he got to a Super Bowl, played very well in the Super Bowl. Ken Anderson, of course, longtime quarterback for the Cincinnati Bengals, is among 34 semifinalists who are older. So they have this kind of once you get past your traditional, hey, you could get voted in time in the NFL, they have like a senior committee, and they have a whole list of players. So Roger Craig is one of those. Otis Taylor, who is a former AFL star with the Kansas City Chiefs, is among the 34, then I think three of them go and they become finalists to be voted on, and they get included with the senior or the regular class. Now, a guy Maxie Bond, which a lot of people don't know about. Maxie Bond actually was my neighbor at one point. Nicest man, like he was the coolest neighbor in the world. Like he was just a great guy, and just couldn't have been nicer to me. And he was ferocious. Like, and it's just funny, because it's just such a good human being. But he was my next door neighbor when I lived in Baltimore. And so here's the thing with so Ken Anderson, if I'm making the case, he threw for 32,000 yards in an era where it was really hard to throw for. If you had a 3,000-yard season, it was remarkable. And today that's it's a different deal. But he also played in a very, very tough division. He played the Pittsburgh Steelers twice a year for his entire career, and a majority of his career was when they were really good. He played, of course, the Houston Oilers were really good at that time. He led his team to the Super Bowl. He was really a part of the innovative. They ran the West Coast offense. That was a big part of who the Bengals were at the time. They were kind of the forerunner of the 49ers, because Bill Walsh was actually a coach with the Bengals for quite a few years, and Ken Anderson, I got to know him quite well because he was my coach when I was with the Bengals, and just brilliant individual, and extremely talented. Probably one of the most accurate passers maybe in the NFL. He had a motion that was just so repeatable, and but he's certainly a guy, and I really hope he gets in. I do. Um, but he's deserving. Now you get a guy like Roger Craig, Steve Tasker's also on the list, and I think what's challenging with some of those guys is they weren't just a runner. You think of Roger Craig, you think of the high leg kick, and you think of the energy, but you also think of him as a guy who, yeah, they ran the ball, but it was really him out of the backfield as a receiver. In fact, he was the first player to rush for 1,000 yards and to receive for 1,000 yards, which is incredible. It's amazing, and it's certainly Hall of Fame worthy. But I think he gets kind of pigeonholed between where does he fit? Is he a running back? Is he a receiver? Is he and I don't know that, for whatever reason they like players to be in a spot. Lawrence Taylor was, a linebacker, and um, Deion Sanders was a defensive back, and they don't look at they look at Roger Craig as kind of, well, he's a utility guy. He's he did a lot of things well, um, but he never really mastered one position. But he really did. He mastered an offense. He was an integral part of an offense that was just um, way way ahead of its time, and so amazing. So ah, I loved Roger Craig. I think he's an incredible player. Probably deserves to be in the Hall of Fame. It's just a question of, can they really appreciate and celebrate how great he was, because he was a little bit of both, and I think people wrongly so look at it that way, and that shouldn't happen, but it does, and we have to deal with those things. So hopefully these guys will get in. It's a pretty good list of players. Steve Tasker was a phenomenal special teams guy for the Buffalo Bills. Again, it's kind of it's. I think it's something that's gaining some appreciation now that maybe it didn't in the past. So he's certainly someone who's at least deserving of a discussion, of a really serious discussion. Whether he makes it in or not, I don't know. If I'm picking Ken Anderson, Roger Craig, and Steve Tasker, I'm picking those two guys ahead of Steve Tasker. But it is what it is. I'll tell you who else I'm picking. I'm picking my good friends at Wade Vision because they changed my life. If any of you have any vision issues, you got to go see them. And they take care of all types of vision correction surgery. They do a great job of doing a workup on your eyes and determining what's the best course of action. And then they do it, and they do it better than anyone in the business. Dr. Waite is a fellowship board certified surgeon on refractive lens correction surgery. And he geeks out on it. He's amazing. They're right off the freeway, the UCCU building in Thanksgiving Point, Lehigh. Go check them out. You won't be disappointed, I promise you. Waitevision.com, WAITE vision.com. More to come on the Down and Dirty. Yeah. Who's been a big disappointment? We'll talk about that when we return. This is ESPN 700, 92.1 FM.
You're, you're all fired up. We have to be out by 10:57. We'll be back 2 minutes 40. Yeah. Yep.
Oh, yeah. Yep. That's all there is dust in Kansas. Dust Bowl. Kansas State, they're coming to see us, and we're going to see Kansas. So we need to get in our Kansas state of mind. Hey, this is the Down and Dirty. Scott Mitchell here. Hope you've gotten down and dirty today. I know I have. And by the way, you get dirty with dust, just so you know. Nothing worse than getting dust in your eyes. or dust in your throat. You ever get dirt dust in your throat blowing around?
It's annoying, isn't it?
It is annoying.
Hey
Speak.
Scott, I'm gonna steal the show for a minute. Speaking of Kansas
Oh,
State,
you do this every day.
I know, I
Fine,
know, I know.
fine.
Speaking of Kansas State, do you think it's Kyle Whittingham's last week at home in front of the Utes, or do we got
I got
another
asked this
season?
question, or yeah, I got
Yeah,
asked
you
this
got asked by
question.
OC on Monday, but we didn't talk about it on
Uh,
our show. Do you think it's his
no,
last week at home in front of the Utes, or do you think he's got
no.
another
I
year?
think Kyle is a football coach, and football coaches never get football out of their system. They die with it in their system. And I think he's like, yeah, I wanna go have fun and all this stuff, but do I? Because I think he's having fun this year. I think he's like he knows he's got a pretty good football team, and I think he's got a pretty good football team coming back next year. And the only reason I do is because they got two really good quarterbacks. And man, having a good quarterback, and of course having a good quarterback healthy, we all know the name of that game if you're Utah fans. So these guys are special and can be even more special. So I thought he would be at the beginning of the year. That right now, I'm not so sure. I'm really not. So we'll see. Okay, we're gonna look into a little bit of the NFL standings here, and I'm gonna go through each division and talk about the team that's the absolute most disappointing team in the division. So we'll start with the AFC East. You got the Patriots, the Bills, the Dolphins, and the Jets. Hands down, without any question whatsoever, the Buffalo Bills are absolutely the most disappointing team in this conference. They should be running away with the division. They've lost some just really strange games. Should they had no business losing. Now they're still in the thick of things, and they're still in the thick of the playoff race. But as far as disappointment goes, a massive disappointment. This season started off, and it's like, okay, this is the Bills' year, and maybe it is at the end of the day. But after 10 games, I would have expected them to maybe have one loss, and of course they have three, and it's kind of who they've lost to as well. So, um, yeah, huge disappointment to me, which is weird. All right, the North is the Steelers, Ravens, Bengals, and Browns. Oh man, this is tough because I almost I'm going to go with the Ravens. They had a brutally hard schedule, and you say, well, how could they be? Well, they're 5-5. They're only one game out of the division. At one point, they were 1-5. So they've won their last four. But they should be running away with this division, and they'll probably win it before it's all over. But this division shouldn't have ever even been close. Um, Maybe a close second is the Bengals, and only because could Joe Burrow just please stay healthy? Like, we don't want to watch you sit on the sideline. We don't want to watch your fashion choice of the week. We want you on the field. AFC South, Colts, Jaguars, Texans, or Titans. Ooh, ooh, baby. I might say the Houston Texans. It's not a might thing. This is a team that was like, man, they were killing everybody. They were CJ Stroud, got to the playoffs, won football games in the playoffs, and then what? It shows being consistent over time is a real thing in the NFL, and it's hard to do sometimes. Now, um, I would definitely say the Houston Texans, and I believe CJ Stroud is actually injured this week. They've got a really, really good defense, but just never seem to get it together offensively. Yeah, massive, easily the most disappointing team in. On the flip side, the Indianapolis Colts might be the most, um, I think, biggest surprise team, greatest story in the NFL team. But the Texans definitely. All right, you have the Broncos, Chargers, Chiefs, and the Raiders. Easily for me, it's Kansas City Chiefs. I mean, to watch how they've been losing games and to watch, and you know what it is to me? Like when they were so good, they just had energy. They had excitement. They had, and I just I don't feel that same energy from Patrick Mahomes. It's like, I don't know, it's just like he's like uninterested. Like it just doesn't seem to have that same fire and juice, and just some of the things he's been doing. It's just easily the most disappointing team of all the teams in the AFC West. All right, NFC East. Definitely the Washington Commanders. This was a team, great young quarterback. They've lost 8 games this year. 8 games, which is just mind blowing from where they were a year ago, and really poised to make a move this year, especially with the young quarterback and the money that they have. Just abysmal. Maybe the biggest disappointment in the NFL, in my opinion. Okay, NFC North, easily the Detroit Lions. I mean, they're, by the way, the Chicago Bears are leading the NFC North, just so you know, Mark. Easily the Lions. Again, it's just a team that I think there's a greater expectation. Really disappointing. NFC South. I'm going to go with the Atlanta Falcons. They, Michael Penix got a lot of stuff going on there. It's too bad. And then in the West, this is a tough one. Arizona Cardinals, just because they're just always a disappointment. All right, hope you haven't been disappointed in our show. It's time to go. The Sean O'Connell Show's next. This has been the Down and Dirty on ESPN 792 FM. I'm Scott Mitchell. Until then, we'll see you then.